Awesome.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Light Talks with Dr. Orr and Connie Melchuk. Thanks so much for joining us today. Our topic today is going to be centered around turning up the volume on the divine feminine. And it kind of correlates to I don't know if it's our exactly our last video, but one of our last it is our last video.
So we
Okay.
started 2 videos ago talking about feminine, masculine energies, and in one of our videos, we said we were gonna talk about this, so here we go.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. All right. So first, we're going to start with the paradigm shift that we have experienced, and where there's some lack of alignment with regard to the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And within that paradigm shift, what previously existed in a harmonious way, not necessarily in a balanced way, in a harmonious way, no longer can exist in the new paradigm that we've shifted and moved into in any kind of harmonious way, which is to me, evident in, Time's Up movement, Me Too movement, um, the the number of like cases and convictions with regard to sexual assault and and rape, and even evident in more women taking over positions of leadership, across the gamut, their voices being heard more. So you can, like, if you're looking and paying attention, you can see the cues of this paradigm shift, um, and and what the paradigm shift is making room for the divine feminine, where the divine feminine wasn't allowed or permitted to be fully expressed.
Mhm. So, okay, I want to elaborate on what you said, and kind of refine from my point of view of how I see it.
Okay.
Um, you talked about when it used to be harmonious,
Hmm.
and after it was harmonious. Am I saying that word correctly?
You
Harmonious.
are.
Sounds funny when I say it for some reason.
I do that with certain words too. It's like all of a sudden I'm like, wait, how do I spell that word? Yeah.
So, it used to be harmonious, and then it wasn't at
Hmm.
all, and now it can't be until there is that shift. It can't be. Like, right now it's there is a sort of, to use a really harsh word, there's a sort of war, right? There's a sort of like there's a very intense conflict of feminine versus masculine.
Okay, so let's clarify here. The paradigm shift has occurred. And
I believe it has.
well, okay, let me reframe it this way. Like, we've moved into
Clarity.
the, well, you can say we've moved into clarity. What I was going to say is that, like, we're in the infancy stages of that paradigm, because I think the thing that I want to make clear is that the previous paradigm is no longer available. The way that things
Not
worked,
working.
right, like the way that things like worked within there,
Yeah.
it's not available to work in that way anymore.
Yes. Nobody
And
wants
so,
it.
right.
People are mad at it. And that's like when I use clarity, we could use awareness, we could use it's like we we are looking at it in the face and we go, this is disgusting. We don't want to live in this kind of
Mhm.
world anymore, right? Like, we don't want to live in a world where if a woman says, I'm not comfortable with what you would just ask me to do, and the man goes, well, then get out of my office and you'll never be in this industry again. We don't want to live in that kind of world, right?
Mhm.
Like, where it, yeah, I don't think I need to go into like examples. I think it's things that are pretty obvious at this point and we talk about often. Um, but for the shift to occur in, okay, so what is a paradigm shift? A paradigm shift is almost like moving from one dimension to another dimension. You have to literally make a leap, a quantum leap out of one way of living into another way of living.
So when you hear people talk about the raising of the vibration from like 3D to 4D to 5D, you know, that's what you're kind of referring to.
Yeah. If we look from now, could we, I don't know much about like Wi-Fi and all that stuff, but my assumption is if we look now at like when we were in 3D and 5D, the people who now created 5D, 5G, 5 whatever, 5G, that's what I'm talking about. If we
Right.
look, right, we did 3G, 4G, 5G, right? Now we're at
Right.
5G. If we look
Right.
now, the people who have 5G, they could have gone from 3G to 5G without 4 in the middle.
Right.
If they knew that stuff, right?
Right.
They need to go step by step.
Right. If they had, well, and also too, it's like this is a fantastic analogy that you stumbled upon, or because the thing is that there are folks out there who are still running on like flip phone analogs, which
Yes.
are being phased out, and
Yes.
you're not going to be able to run on a flip phone analog anymore or whatever. And like you said, it's like if you have a device that's capable of running 5G, but your last device was like only 3G, like you can make that leap. Or you can go 3G, 4G, 5G.
Yes. So by work, so again, so a paradigm shift is literally leaping through to the other one. You don't have to go through it. You can leap, right? And actually I'm doing it wrong because it doesn't actually look like this. It looks like this,
Mm,
right? It's
okay.
energy. It doesn't have to go like even when I'm going like this, I'm going through.
Right,
It's like this,
right.
right? One molecule moves, another molecule moves. They don't have to go through other molecules to get the other one to move.
Right.
So, what I'm seeing happening in the world is that we're trying to go through, we're trying to push our way through, we're trying to work our way through rather
Mhm.
than shifting into our new paradigm, which in that new paradigm, we already have our own power.
Mm,
We have that divine feminine. We own that divine feminine. We're not asking permission to use it. We're not asking anybody to get out of the way so we can use it. We're not
right,
asking anybody to be quiet or move or change or see us. We just are that.
right. It's the full embodiment of the divine feminine.
Yeah.
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 And
And that goes for like the embodiment of the divine feminine is not women centric, like souls that are in female bodies. It crosses souls who are in all bodies.
yeah.
So it's like if you're in a male body, if you're in a trans body, if you're in like all different kinds of bodies. So it's like you along the spectrum, everyone can inhabit and bring in their divine feminine. It's like we talked about in the last video where you were like, it's not equal. It's like, for like a average female, it's like 70 divine feminine, 30 divine masculine. For a male, average male, it's Da da da. But there runs the gamut. There are folks out there that are 50-50. There are
Mhm.
folks out there that are 60-40. There are folks out there that are 90-10.
Mhm.
Like it
Yeah,
runs the gamut.
yeah. So our jobs, again, to use that, like the energy molecules moving, our our job, uh, as women, the women's job is to honor it in ourselves. I
Mhm.
think that's the main thing that we need to talk about. Like, and we're talking about
Okay.
how to raise it.
Right, right, right.
It's in ourselves. So once, so energy is non-local, right? When
Mhm.
we There's been studies that show if you take DNA and you break it apart, and you have one on the East Coast, one strand of the same DNA on the East Coast and another on the West, and you tweak the one on the East Coast, the one on the West Coast will change.
Mhm.
So if divine energy, the divine feminine energy is that kind of like the DNA, and I'm
Mhm.
changing it within me to a more enlightened state, automatically I'm supporting all the other,
Right.
not just females, but feminine energy in
Mhm.
everybody on the planet,
Right. Right.
animals, water, trees, the whole everything,
Right.
to help it rise.
Right. So, now let's get into the second part of this, which is the support for the rising of the divine feminine and honoring the divine feminine and how to do that.
Okay.
Let's give folks some examples
Okay.
of how you can do that. There's so many wonderful ways to do that.
Yeah, there are. The word honoring is like really the one that's like really been popping in. I think first
Mhm.
that like the words that have like been in my head lately is like
Mm,
honor, cherish, nourish,
mm,
right? Like,
yeah.
um, yeah, when you're honoring something, you're seeing it, right? You're seeing it fully. You're kind of like stepping back as you're seeing the whole, like what it
Mhm.
is, right? You're giving it the space to be.
Right. I think that's a key thing, giving it the space to be and discovering, like, while you're allowing the divine feminine to
Mhm.
be, discovering what that looks like, feels like, um, where it connects to. Because it's interesting with regard to the conversation that we had before, where it's like, like we were talking about like women directors and we were talking about women
Yeah.
CEOs and like, and even like um folks who are pilots and things like that. Like they had to embody like their divine masculine in order to move forward in those particular roles.
Yeah.
And so it's like being with, honoring your divine feminine while you're being in those roles.
Yeah. And those roles, I brought books today. So, like this one, Goddess, and I know it's going to be mirror image. Sorry. It's called Goddesses in Every Woman.
Hmm.
And so in this book, and it's written by Jean Bolen. So in this book, she goes through the different goddesses, and there's like the mother, and it's like very connected to archetypes. So
Hmm.
the mother, the priestess, the queen, right? Like,
The goddess,
yeah,
the, yeah,
yeah. So like Hera is one of them, and
femme fatale. Yeah.
let me tell you the names of like um Athena, uh,
Hmm.
Hestia, Hera, Persephone, right? So that she takes mythological goddesses, and she explains who they are and how they live
Hmm.
within us, right?
Right.
So I think in this new paradigm, we look at, the in quotes, the masculine roles, like a pilot or, um, what did you name? You named a few things like,
Like a CEO or
contractors,
right, yeah.
yeah, like, right, like more like physical labor, like kind of
Soldier, right?
soldier, yeah, the
Right.
more masculine roles. And we start looking at them from that feminine goddess. Which goddess is that, right? Like Wonder Woman is not
Mhm.
a goddess, but she is in my eyes.
I love Wonder Woman. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Right.
Athena would be that the she's the goddess of
Of
love and
war.
war.
Yeah.
But that in and of itself, like Athena, the goddess Athena, she she brings together love and war.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
she
kind of
does
like
it in a feminine way.
right,
She's
right,
right. She is like sacred divine femininity of
right.
God and of love
Love
and
and war.
war,
Right.
right? So we look at that to understand and describe what those aspects through a feminine frequency look like, rather than comparing them to masculine
Mm.
energies.
Right, or
It's
trying to explain them through that lens,
yes,
explaining them through the lens of the divine feminine.
yes,
Yeah, no, that's
which
great.
is how we also do with like anybody who's not white, right? Like we've done the same thing, right? We'll talk about it in comparison. So that's again like the paradigm shift. It's We'll talk about women in comparison to men. We'll talk about black people in comparison to white people, right? Like there is it's like the norm or the right way of being,
Mhm.
rather than like coming back to like a flat line where all of these people are humans equally.
Well, and I hear you talking about allowing space for whatever, whatever it is,
Yeah,
and just allowing it versus bringing in, judgment or
judgment.
categories or,
Yes,
you know
yes, yeah,
So I think allowing is a big part of it. Like when you were talking about, cherish and honor, like the words and nourish that were kind of in your mind at this moment in time. Um, allowing and being to me are also two very potent and powerful
yes,
um ways of being present.
yes. And being feminine.
Mhm.
Anytime when I ask, women when I'm working with them, like, okay, describe to me femininity. It's like allowing, receiving, like
Mm.
flow.
Right.
Yeah.
My gosh, the flow, the
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with the
I
flow.
know you are.
I'm so obsessed with the flow.
I know.
It's so
So good.
important to
I know.
me. It's so important to me. Like,
So
well,
good.
let me move the way that I move.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
feel and have the like space to do that.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's the other thing that I remember talking about in the other video, like the restrictions, the schedules, you know, the goals, the milestones, the sticking to the instead of the flow,
Mhm.
instead of the navigating as needed. And like just because we spoke about Athena, goddess Athena before, it's like knowing if you need to pull on the tools and skills of war or the tools and skills of love, and being able to adapt in any particular situation.
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
so let's give some specific examples of um how we honor it within ourselves.
We listen. We listen to our bodies. We give ourselves space to slow down in order to listen. We and everybody can do that in their own way, right? Like some people need to sit and light a candle and some sage and maybe pull like a tarot card and like sit there and listening, right?
Mhm.
Some people go on a walk, like super quiet in nature. Um, some people journal to listen. Like some people dance. Like there are a variety of ways in which we can come in, and
Mhm.
like what if the environment which makes it easier to come in. Like for
Right.
me, it's like I lay in my bed, I hold my heart, I hold my belly, sometimes my uterus, and I breathe. Like to me, it's like I just need, I like my room, I feel safe in my room,
Mhm.
the door is closed, like nobody's gonna come in, and I just focus on my breath and my body, and I check in with it. Like, you know,
And
sometimes
feel.
and I
And
feel
feel.
it's mostly
Yeah.
feeling. Like sometimes it'll evolve into more of like a conversation.
Mhm.
For the most part, it's like feeling, it's relaxing my nervous system. Like,
Mm.
right, the constant like go, 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 go. Like it's the slowing down of my body to get in there, to be present in there, to feel like what's moving, what's like, and not, and it's different than the work, right? Like it's different than like then getting in there and like, oh, okay, because when I felt like there was like something in like my back third or field. Oh, I
Right.
gotta go and like move that around. That's that's separate, right? Like
Mhm.
when I'm just doing that, it's like, okay, I'm just giving myself the space to be.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I have to say that I do all of those things that you described. And recently I've been taking so much joy in dancing, and I just pick a song, um, and like, it's usually like a 3 or 4 minute song, and I move my body. And it's so interesting because what's been happening for me is I've been going through kind of songs that run the lifespan of me at various points in time. Like picking songs from like high school and picking songs from like college and post college, and when I used to go dancing in the clubs, and um finding those songs, and it's and letting like my body now move to those songs and be present in a way that I didn't have the skill or know how to
Yeah.
do back then. And it's really wonderful. Like the last 3 days I've been dancing to the same song, and today it was a ballet.
Oh my gosh.
It was like it was like this ballet movement, which
Oh.
was just really, like,
Mhm.
really lovely. And it's like
Yeah.
there's something really nice about the like what you're describing, like putting your hand on your heart and putting your hand on your belly or your uterus, um and doing that in physical stillness. And then there's also something like really beautiful about just letting your body move
Yeah.
the way that it wants to
Yes.
move
Yes. It's
in
very,
that way.
and to do so from a very intuitive way, like a very
Mhm.
intuitive place, because it's different when we, you know, I mean, so many of us are working out, right? And the workout routine is so structured. It's so like follow this, do this X
Mhm.
number of times. It's not, I mean, dancing is a workout, but it's so free flowing.
Mhm.
It's like it's just coming from, and I think that's like when you said that, I also thought about um what feminine, what being in war looks like from the feminine frequency, and it is way more intuitive
Mhm.
than than planned out then it's still strategic, but it comes from a different,
Very intuitive place. Yes.
it's like the antennas rather
Yeah.
than like the directional, like I don't even know what's the different then.
Well, I think it's like the execution of a strategic plan with no flexibility or what, like, it has to be executed in an X, Y, and Z way.
Like those TV shows like Jack Ryan or whatever, right? Where you have
Right.
like Jack Ryan and then you have like the people who are like more of his like they work in his way. They're going like this is how I feel. I feel that this is gonna happen. I feel like I'm on the right track. And then you have these other like the FBI people in the office who are like, you can't break protocol, right?
Right, 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 right.
It's very like, no, I gotta go
Well,
with my senses.
but that to me is also a really nice description of the distinction, right? Is it's like with with the divine feminine versus the divine masculine, there is like not that there's not protocol, there is protocol. There's just beyond protocol.
Mhm,
So there's like there is a flexibility, there is a fluidity
mhm,
to to it that is not like there's a lack of like rigidness and staunchness to it. And that doesn't mean that there's not strength and wisdom in it. It's just more it's just more free flowing. It's more like you're saying, it's like more intuitive. um it's adaptable, it's flexible. And so and those things can those things can hit a bullseye.
yeah, and they eventually will work so well together. When
Mhm.
both honor, they will work so beautifully together. Because my favorite analogy, I'm sure I've said it here before, is the river banks and the water flowing through it. Like you have to have the structure for
Mhm.
the water to flow through. And
Right.
sometimes the riverbanks need to come out wider, and sometimes they're narrower, and sometimes they're higher or lower. Like, right? And the water stream is faster, slower. Like, they adjust together, they work together
Mm.
to support one another.
Yeah.
And
That's a
that
beautiful analogy.
I love this analogy. Somebody said it to me before about me and my husband, like years ago.
Mhm.
And it's like really stuck with me so deeply because it's we need that. We need to honor both.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, the I guess the last thing we wanna kinda touch on, and I wanna give you the opportunity to share any more, examples or ideas around supporting the raising of the divine feminine. But then we're gonna kind of move into, um, how part of being, uh, part of honoring the divine feminine, being in the divine feminine vibration is being more heart centered,
Okay.
is bringing our forward movement, bringing our decision making, bringing our choices, bringing our thoughts. Um, and it's kind of like bringing them through the the field of the heart chakra
Mhm,
before they make their way out
mhm,
into relationship, interaction, job, grocery shopping, filling up with gas. Like, like it's like how do you bring yourself to that moving through and from that heart-centered space. I'm
yeah.
ready.
Contest alert. We're so excited to invite you to join this contest. where one of you will get a free 30-minute session with either Connie or myself. In order to join the contest, write the words light, subscribe, and subscribe to our channel. Turn on your notifications. And so in the comments, write light, subscribe. When we reach 500 subscribers, one of you who had commented light, subscribe will win a 30-minute session with one of us.
All right. So
Yeah.
heart-centered.
Yeah. I think we all need to calm the fuck down.
Well, and part of that is letting go, not taking things personally. What you said before about like slowing down, that was when it was so counterintuitive to me to slow down and make more progress than I had in years.
Yes.
It was like as soon as I started slowing down, like, and where I first noticed it was in my yoga practice. Like I used to do like Ashtanga, and it was like boom, 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 and then I like could feel some stress and tension in my knees, and so I just gradually started to slow down my yoga practice, and the slower it got, the deeper it got.
Mm-hmm.
And then that started to translate out and reverberate within my life.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's an important part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the more we calm down by doing all those things you just listed, the more space we have to realize that, things aren't personal, to realize that, like, just there's less hitting our head against somebody else.
Or against a wall.
Yeah, it's like enough of this, right? Like, enough, like, pull back,
Right.
stop, like, not everything is war, not
Mm-hmm.
everything is a struggle, not everything is fighting, you're not always in danger. And that takes a lot of work to get to a place where you can believe that. So
Mm-hmm.
I encourage all of our viewers to do that work, because to be in a place where we feel safe enough in our own bodies, not in the world, right? Like, the world's going to take time to catch up with that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that the world is currently very shitty. Like, there are
Mm-hmm.
some really seriously messed up things that are very dangerous in the
Mm-hmm.
world.
Yeah.
Not being in denial of that, but when we have connection, like whenever I'm in fear, and I'll get in the fear mode, like sitting in a movie theater, like walking in the grocery store, like places where somebody could come up and do something, right? Like, it's happened. When I get in that place, I go to my higher power. I wrap myself up with violet light, and I feel that connection.
Mm.
In that place, I remember that I'm a divine human being. Like, I'm a human being, but I'm an energetic divine being,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing can harm that. So it's like being in that and radiating that calms
Mm-hmm.
me down, calms my nervous system down.
Right.
Able to function again. I'm able to be present again with whoever I'm around,
Yeah.
with myself. And yeah, like, it brings everything down. So doing the work to be able to get to that place,
Yeah.
whether it's
I think one of the practices that helped me was consciously choosing love over fear. Like asking myself the question in this like taking the pause when you're in any kind of circumstance or situation, communicating with someone else, or going to communicate with someone else. Where can I let go of the fear and show up with as much love as
Mm,
I can.
yeah.
Um, and so that, that has been a practice of mine, like a consciousness practice of mine, an awareness practice of mine, choosing love over fear.
Mhm,
Uh,
mhm,
and and then I think the other thing is getting clarity around our priorities.
mhm.
Because I think what has happened is that the world and all these corporations and friends and families and communities have said, these are your priorities. And a lot of people have taken them on
Mhm.
as part of like their identity, or thinking that that's a choice that they made,
Yeah.
instead of
Yes.
like I'm following the lead or the crowd in a particular way. So to me, that's another piece of it, is like when you slow down, you are able to see what naturally falls away, who naturally falls away when you're not available to do every play date or every Saturday night dinner, or, every once a month movie dinner, or whatever it is, or drinks every Tuesday, whatever it is. When you're not available, it's like you'll see like where the integrity is in your connections
Yeah.
to other people,
Yeah.
places, and things.
Yes.
And that I think is also another important piece of it.
What you just said, 110%. Like, that is key. That, like, if we can start practicing that practice of paying attention and letting things fall away that don't matter to us, like realizing the priorities that we've put on ourselves based on like external influences
Mhm,
versus what's within us that's
mhm,
being birthed, right? Female, divine femininity birthing our needs and our desires and our
mhm,
passions. And those things can be like the fear around that. There's a social fear of like some of the things you listed, right? Like, what are my friends? I'm gonna lose friends, blah, blah, blah. But like
keeping up with the Joneses, yeah.
the more uh toxic fear is when it comes to our financial survival in the world, of like when we don't want to do the job that we're doing. And so then I'm not going to be paid. I'm going to be fired. I'm going to fail school. Like, but those are key signs of what you're doing that's not coming from within you.
Well, and it's recognizing what no longer serves you. And what I will
Yes.
say is when it comes to the financial piece of things, like the financial survival and that fear of financial survival, there is there's there is the possibility and um ability to transition. You don't need to like cut it off,
Right.
right?
I'm
It
done.
doesn't
I'm
need
not
to
doing
be
anything.
it doesn't need to be like I walk in the door and it's like, "And I quit everything."
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a it there's a transitional process, and yes, it's scary to partake that. If you're getting the signals that that's a journey for you to go on, then there is a greater purpose and value and contribution that you are able to offer. And what I would say to folks who like that resonates with is get the support that you need to navigate that transition.
Yes.
um, I am definitely somebody who has navigated that transition. And I can say that yesterday I was sitting on my back porch, and the thought that popped into my head while I was looking at the trees was, I'm so happy, right? Like, that definitely did not happen, in my office building off Fifth Avenue, you know what I mean, in New York City
Mhm.
when I was sitting at my desk.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I didn't have the
yeah,
space for that to come in.
yeah,
So that's one thing that I would say to
yeah.
folks is that if that resonates, um,
And it doesn't have
find your
to
support
be,
for that.
yes, it doesn't have to mean that, like, some people really thrive in office jobs, like, totally, like,
Yeah.
it it could mean that you're working an office job, but, like, you can't stop thinking about numbers and, like, wanting to work on, like, the budget of the company, right? It could be things like that that
Oh, for sure,
don't
for
really
sure.
seem awful, but, like,
Right.
some people, like, so listen to that, pay attention to that. That's a calling. Like, it could be a calling within whatever you're already doing. It could be another segment of that, or it could be that, like,
Mhm.
you already are in that place of, like, loving what you're doing. So
Mhm.
it's
And
yeah,
then it's like, and then how do you expand that out to other people and the generations of folks that are coming up,
mhm,
within the future generations, and the generation, like the folks who are in college now, the folks who are in high school now, the folks who are in grade school. Like, how can you, support those folks in sharing your knowledge. So that to me, like, that's where it's like heart centered. And part of it is like, it's like one of those things where, the work week is a 40-hour work week, right? Some companies kind of have already pseudo moved to a 4-day work week. Um, some folks already know that, like, working a full-time job doesn't work for them. Sometimes people are like, part-time, like, that's my jam.
yeah,
And then there are the folks out there who it's like they don't right now currently have that option.
mhm,
And so it's like they're juggling 3 different jobs and going to school and trying to make it to another place.
mhm.
And, um, and it's overwhelming and it's hard work, and you can still choose to do it from a heart-centered place
It's like, how
every
are we
single day.
being in that
Right.
rather
Exactly.
than what we're doing? How are we being?
Right.
Yay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And that to me is, um all those things that we've just described, the awareness, the consciousness of that to me is honoring the divine feminine, nourishing the divine feminine.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, amazing. This was such a good episode.
awesome. Um, I guess one thing that I would just like to finish with is talking about our contest.
Yes, guys, come on, come on. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel.
Hit
And
the notification bell.
yes, we have new episodes every Monday. Um, Like, subscribe in the comments, right? Like, subscribe, write us any comment you would like. We really want to hear from you. We want to hear how you're raising your feminine, divine feminine vibration. We want to, yeah, we want to engage with you guys. So please do so. When we hit 500 subscribers, we have a gift for you. One of you is going to win a 30-minute session with one of us.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And like Dr. Orr said, make sure you like and subscribe. And hopefully, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.